Hi everyone, you're with CarlyMarie, and today I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing singer-songwriter Casey Barnes, who has written a beautiful song that he has dedicated to bereaved parents all over the world. Casey, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you, and I just wanted to say that we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us all and answer some questions and just give everyone, just some time to know a little bit more about you. So thanks for joining us. Hi
It's my
everyone.
pleasure. Thank you very much. And yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, and it's been great meeting you over the last week as well. Yeah, it's nice to be with you.
Yeah, wonderful. Sorry, I think we've got a little bit of feedback happening, but I think I've fixed that. So today I just really wanted to have a chat with you. Um, you've done just the most amazing thing for this community, and that's just written a beautiful song. And I think you wrote to me a little while ago, and I missed your message. I had a lot going on at the time. But I saw your YouTube clip going around on the internet, and I thought, that's amazing. And I had a look at it, and it was just that I looked back at my emails and saw your message, and I was just blown away by, I don't know, just how raw and honest and beautiful the song is. So maybe could you just maybe give us a little bit of insight into your own life and your story with your music and your family and why you wrote the song?
Yeah, well, look, I'm happy to be really honest with this Q&A and answer any questions that anyone's got. And basically, what basically happened, the motive and the catalyst behind writing the song was a little over 2 years ago. My wife and I were expecting a baby, and we got to about the halfway mark through the pregnancy, and up until that point everything was fine. We'd had all the scans, and there were no issues with the baby, and we were just obviously, as every parent is, planning ahead and expecting to at the end of that get a healthy little bub like we did with our first little girl, Charlie. And we went along for the 20-week scan, and looked up on the monitor, and here's this beautiful little baby girl, and we're seeing it up on the monitor, and we're seeing this heartbeat, and everything's fine in our heads, and the doctor, we could tell something wasn't right just with the interaction between the doctors and what they were talking about, and they just basically said, look, there is an issue here, and we need to bring in another doctor to get a second opinion. And basically, cutting a long story short, we received the news that unfortunately the baby, no matter what we decided to do at that point, was not going to survive. It turned, in that instant, getting that bit of information, that just turned our lives upside down. And my wife and I, the last thing we were expecting to hear, and we were absolutely devastated by the news. And we just went through a real grieving process over the next few weeks and months, and we went and saw grief counsellors, and we talked it through, and it's something that you just never think you're going to have to actually experience yourself. And I think guys go through grief a little bit differently than their partners do, because you sort of feel as though you want to be there for your wife at the time and make sure she's okay, and sometimes you don't really deal with your own grief yourself. And it wasn't until a few months later down the track I had this song that was just looping around in my head, and it had been going around and around and around, and it was this song, Waiting on the Day. And I basically started writing this song, and it just came out, and the words all flowed out. And for me, I actually co-wrote it with a really close friend of mine, a guy called Rick Price, who I've done a lot of writing with, and we both sat down, and two blokes in a room, you can imagine writing this song and dealing with my grief at the time, and we were both a mess, writing this song, and but for me it was the best way to handle the grief. And and it's taken a long time for me to feel the timing was right to release the song, but we feel it's you know, as I've mentioned, it's a tribute to our little Grace, and then I guess it's also a tribute to every parent that's lost a child. You know, everybody's got a different story, and everyone's had a different experience, and I just hope the song can help anyone else, and they can relate to it in their own unique way. So, yeah, it's a very special song.
I just think it's amazing, like what you said, how women and men grieve differently, and that's why I don't know. I guess I wasn't really expecting that. Um, I was going to see this beautiful song come from a dad because it's so. Um, it's also connected, and I just felt like, oh, I was just like, oh, thank you for writing this, and thank you for sharing it, because it's such a, it's such, this comes from such a deep place, and it's, you're not singing about sunshine and rainbows. It's about, the absolute unimaginable heartache that you have experienced, and I guess that's why I was really drawn to you for doing that, because your story, you show your authenticity with it, and I think it's wonderful. I think there was a few comments on your page about people were questioning you over the lyrics that you wrote, and I think what we all have to do is sit back and just leave that alone for a minute and just appreciate the fact that you've actually come out and spoken about this, and you've given people like space to actually speak about their children. And the beauty of your song is that it's your own unique story, and it resonates with so many different people. Even with, we all have different stories, but it resonates with us all because it all comes from the same place, and we're all grieving, and we all love these beautiful children that we can't raise here on earth. So it's a really brave thing to do. I suppose you've probably gone through a whole lot of different experiences over the last week, because I can imagine you've had a lot of people reaching out to you. So what's that been like?
Yeah, well, it has. It's been extremely overwhelming. I mean, to be honest, when I wrote the song, initially you're writing the song because you're just pouring your heart out onto paper, how you're feeling, and at the time when I wrote the song, if you look at the lyrics, you go through a period of guilt, because you start to go, what did we do wrong, and I'm sure if there's anyone listening at the moment that's been through a similar experience, you go through this period where you're like, was I at fault? Did we do something wrong? And my wife was like, did I do something wrong? And we were questioning all of these things, and why did it happen to us? And just all these different emotions, and that you a roller coaster where you go up and down. But then you do realise that there is a bigger purpose, and some things are out of your control in life, and that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. And basically we were lost. We lost this baby that we thought we were going to have, and we felt empty, and my wife felt exactly the same, and we were very, very lucky, and others aren't as lucky, but we were very lucky to fall pregnant again. We've had another little baby, little Emmy, and she's now 18 months old, and we're blessed to have another little baby in our lives. But I think, just to clarify too, some of the lyrics, we don't feel as though we've got Grace back, in a sense, here on earth. We know that she's gone to another place, but and we know that we'll see her again one day. But we feel as though we've been fortunate enough to get little Emmy, and it's we've been blessed with that. But as you say, I mean, the response has been incredible, and I've had that many lovely messages from people, emails and tweets and messages on Facebook and YouTube, and everybody's shared their stories, and I really feel for those people, and I really think it's a brave thing for anybody to share their own story. It's a tough thing, and I guess the song, if it helps you and you can connect with it, then that's great. And one thing I was going to say is a really important point is music is a medium where everybody connects to it differently. You can listen to a song and you can get something out of a song that the next person that listens to it's going to get a totally different response, and that's the beauty of music, is you connect with it in your own way. You know, I've played the song at some shows recently, and I've played it and not even spoken about what the song's about, and I played it a few months ago, and I actually had 3 ladies come up to me at the end of the night, and they said, look, thank you so much for sharing that song. We know what it's about. We all lost babies and when we were younger, and you know, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And then I played the song a couple of weeks ago, and again I really didn't touch on the detail of the song, and I played it, and a really lovely guy came up to me at the end of the night, and he said, you know, thank you so much again for playing that song. He said, look, I know again what the song's about for you personally, but I connected with the song in a different way because I lost my mother, who passed away 2 months ago, and I know the song's not about that, but for me, it resonated with me on that level. So that's the beauty of music, you know, whatever your religious background is, whatever your personal experience is, you know, however you connect with the song, as long as you're getting the right message out of it, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think when I first heard the song, for me personally, because I know someone mentioned something like reincarnation or whatever, and I didn't pick that up at all from that, and it just goes to show how differently we all read into lyrics. And for me, when I first heard the song, it just took me back to a time very early on after we had lost our son, and I was kind of waiting, literally waiting for him to come back, you know, like, because I was in such a period of disbelief that this had happened, and it was almost like, how could he possibly be gone, you know, and my heart was just waiting for him to come back. And then, you know, later on down the track, it's like he actually never left me. And that's, you know, at the end of what you sing at the end of the song, and that's how I interpret it, like he's come back to me because he'd never left, type thing. So you're right. We all interpret lyrics and music differently, and it all, you know, it speaks to us differently. But it is a truly beautiful, beautiful song. And I know I can see it already. I can see it being used for so. I mean, it sounds really depressing, but I can see it being used, and people saying, you know, people that haven't even yet experienced the loss of a baby, and they're going to have to go through that, and they're going to have to plan a memorial service or a funeral or a celebration or whatever it is, and people will send them your song, and that song will be the song that they play for their child. So it's just, I get goosebumps thinking about it. It's truly amazing. So one thing that I wanted to ask you was, have you actually played the song to an audience yet? And is it a song that you will play in the future to audiences?
Yeah, it's a song out of every. I mean, I've written many songs, and I've released a lot of music over the last, you know, 10, 15 years, and it's definitely by far the most difficult song to perform live, and it was extremely difficult to record the song. We recorded the song over in the States, in Nashville, and if you listen really carefully to the recorded version, you'll actually hear there's certain points where I'm right pretty much on the verge of just, you know, losing the plot, and we had to stop a couple of times and start again because I was really finding it hard to get through delivering the lyrics in the way that I wanted to, and yeah, it is a really hard song to perform live, but I think you know, it's also important to be able to add it into my set list and you know, include it in live gigs, and you know, we've done a few radio interviews over the last couple of weeks, and I've performed it live on air on radio as well, and that's really hard as well. But I think it's definitely a song that I'll perform live, and when the timing is right. So absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't know if, I mean, this is on a whole other, like, it's not even on the same level to what you do, but each year we host a memorial service at the beach for families in Perth that have experienced the death of a child, and I speak at that. I mean, I host it, so I have to speak. each time. And even for me, just reading out a poem or reading out anything is so difficult. And I've never not broken down in tears in front of hundreds of people, because it's just such a difficult, heart-wrenching thing to go through. So I can't imagine what it would be like to actually, perform your song live to an audience and then have to keep on going. Like, you have to pick up with the next song and, compose yourself. So I imagine that would be a very, very difficult thing to do.
I think,
but
I was going to say the hardest time I performed the song was, we finished writing it, and it was still obviously just a demo, and we hadn't recorded the final version. And I just wanted to make sure the song was perfect, because it obviously, I'm sharing an experience, not only my own experience, but an experience that I went through with my wife, who, I love very much, and I wanted to make sure that she was okay with the song and what I was talking about within the song, and performing it for her and both of our parents for the first time was probably the hardest. And we were, I think we were all a mess. We were all in tears at the end of the first time I performed it to them, because I wanted to see what their reaction was before I went ahead and recorded it. And that was the hardest, because they're the people that you're closest to. So that was pretty tough. But once we got there okay and they loved the song, it was like, well, okay, we've got to record this.
Yeah, I think it's just incredibly amazing. And I think I've got a friend in the States who's recently made a film about the loss of his beautiful son, and I know he had to go through. There was just so much hard work put into this behind the scenes, and I don't think people have any idea how much work goes into these sorts of things, whether it's a song or a film or a project. And you really put yourself out there, and you open yourself up to all sorts of criticism, and I think it's difficult because you do get a lot of support. You get wonderful people, sending all their love to you and appreciation, but then you'll get that one person that says something hurtful, or they get the wrong impression, or they believe you're doing it for the wrong reason. And I find that that's really difficult to deal with. So have you experienced that at all? And what would you say to people who do question why you've written a song about this and why you want to get it out there? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I mean, as you say, like, I wrote and recorded this song to get out my own personal experience of grief, of what I went through, and it's up to the listener how they interpret it, and it's that's, as I said before, it's the beauty of music, and it's been amazing, people like yourself who have seen the clip and posted it online over the last couple of weeks. It's just sort of had an incredible response, not just here in Australia, but all around the world. We've been getting messages from all sorts of different countries, and people sharing their own individual stories and of loss of baby or a child, and I've been completely blown away by the response, and 99.9% of every single message we've got has been a really positive one, and everybody's understood the message behind the song. But I think when you do what I do for a living, and you're in the public eye, you are susceptible to the odd person that wants to have a go at you or be nasty, and it's a shame. It really is sad that people have to, I don't know, do these things. But I mean, the only other time I've experienced it was a few years ago. I was on a show called Australian Idol, and it's the first time I'd been on something like that, where you just get thrown out into the public eye, and you're in millions of people's homes every week, and people are critiquing the smallest little things about you, how you sing and how you look and all these things. And I mean, again, back then it was like, you know, 9 out of 10 times people would say really lovely things and encourage you, but then you'd get this one person that would just, you know, sit behind their computer and write something nasty. And sometimes it happens, but I think for me, the positives outweigh the negatives, and it's worth getting this song out there, and I'm so proud of the song. I'm proud of you know, the fact that people are getting the message behind it, and it's actually resonating with them and their own experience that they've had. And I think if that's happening, then that's fantastic, you know. So that's the whole purpose, and my wife and I are really proud. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and I know that a lot of time, effort, and money goes into these things. So, yeah, I think you're amazing for what you've done, and I know, you know, most people do as well. So I think we'll take some questions now, if that's okay with you, Casey. We've got one from Jessica Greenwood, and she has asked, has the experience of writing this beautiful song helped you in your journey of grief? So I'll leave that one to you.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very good question, and the answer is absolutely it has. My own personal experience coming from a male and a bloke, and you know, we handle grief really differently to our partners, and I've gone through quite a long process of going through the whole thing, and at first it was just complete denial. I didn't believe it had happened, and I was completely numb. And I don't know if anyone out there listening can relate to that feeling of just complete numbness. You just cannot believe it's happened to you. And then we went and we had counselling, and we had the most beautiful lady sit down with us, who's actually a really good friend of ours, and she was fantastic. And she helped us go through the whole grieving process. But I still, at that time, it didn't feel as though I'd really dealt with it. I was still denying a lot of the stuff that was going on in the background. And then really it's only been, you know, since the song's come out, and even just in the last couple of weeks, that I've actually addressed a lot of the other feelings I probably hadn't, you know, gotten past. And one thing, it's just made me appreciate even more how much I love my own family, my 2 little girls, and just how precious it is to spend time with them every day, and my wife. So it, you know, it just makes you stop and realise that life is short, and you've got to make the most of the time you have here, because you don't know what's around the corner. So it's definitely made me address a lot of things.
Yeah, I imagine it would do. So yeah, great answer. Okay, so we've got another question from Sarah McLean, and she wants to know, what was it like making the film clip for the video, and how did you get through that experience?
Well, that's another good question. The person I have to thank for this is largely my wife, who is just an incredibly gifted person at coming up with creative ideas, and I think she needs to tap into it a little bit more, because she's really, really good at it. But she came up with the whole idea of the clip, and you know, she went out and scouted the locations, and she knew exactly what she wanted to have and include in the clip. And we live in a really beautiful part of northern New South Wales, and we've got some amazing scenery around here. So we shot the clip not too far from where we live here, and we've got another really close friend of ours who played the female role in the clip, and we specifically wanted her because we knew that she was, you know, perfect for that role. And it was great. I mean, we teamed up with a guy who he's one of my very close friends who shot the clip, and those guys know what they're doing. You know, they've shot the last 2 music videos for me in the past, and they just do a great job. And it was all coming from a good place, and yeah, we were blessed that everything sort of fell together. But yeah, everyone did a really, really good job, and we've even got our two in the clip as well, so they're in there as well.
No, yeah, they are just absolutely adorable. Just you have such beautiful children. Okay, so the next question comes from Josh Clement, and he has asked, did you attend any support group meetings, and if so, did they help?
Yeah, I did. I found, yeah, I did find it really beneficial. We were very, very lucky because one of our close friends actually runs some counselling, grief counselling. She is a grief counsellor. That's her profession, and she works up on the Gold Coast. And we were lucky enough to reach out to her, and she's just the most amazing lady. And we just went round to her house and sat down and had a cup of tea and just poured our hearts out, and we definitely got a lot out of it. But I think I think there still needs to be a lot more awareness on people that do go through these things, and getting in touch with the right grief counsellors, and sometimes I think people sometimes feel as though they're ashamed to talk about how they feel, or they have to keep it to themselves. And something that's one of the other reasons I think this song is a good thing, because if it gets people talking about the subject matter, then that's not a bad thing, because I think too often people feel ashamed that that's happened to them and they can't talk about it, or they'll be judged by their friends, and it's not fair. So yeah, I think talking about it is a really important thing.
Yeah, me personally, I'm really, I don't know how to put this. It's difficult. I think there really isn't a lot out there for guides, and I think, like you were saying before, where you feel like you need to be the person that looks after everything and supports your wife, and there's kind of there's no space there for you yourself to fall apart and that be okay. And I know I was talking on the weekend to a lovely gentleman from Sands that I met, um, and we were chatting about how men just grieve so differently to women. And I was saying, my husband wouldn't want to go to a support group meeting where they all sit in a circle and share their stories, because he's not a woman. It's just not his style. Um, and for him personally, he doesn't even really need to, pour his heart out about what he feels about his grief. But he said all he needs to be would help for him to just be around other guys that have been through the same thing. You don't even have to speak about it, but you just know that that other person has been there, and it's kind of like that acknowledgement and that understanding, and just having time with people who just understand. And so I think going forward for this community, and trying to help the guys out a little more, I think we really need to start looking outside the box, and we really need to start getting some men into those roles where they can actually say, this would really help, or this isn't working for us, or we need that. Because I know personally for my Facebook page, it's probably 97% female, because we do grieve so differently. And but we need to, open up a space for guys where we say, you know what, this is a really lousy, shitty experience, and it's okay to feel terrible about it, and it's okay to fall apart. You don't have to be that person that holds everything together all the time. So what you've done by putting this song out there, I mean, you have opened. I'm really passionate about conversations, and I think awareness comes through conversations. It doesn't necessarily come through big memorial walks or anything like that. Those things help, but what really works is just the conversations that we have in our own communities with our loved ones. And if we can open up a space for each other to speak without judgment or expectation or anything, then things would be so much easier for everyone. But anyway, I'm turning this into my talk, and it's got nothing to do with me. So I will find the next question. We've got one from Margie Reynolds, and she has written, sorry, did you have any fears about releasing the song before you did it?
Look, I think you have fears about releasing any song. Every song that I write comes from a different place, and you will always worry about, to a degree, how it's going to be received. But I think if you spend too much time worrying about these things, then you're going to do your own head in. And I think for me it was more so just waiting for the right time where Michelle, my wife, and I felt comfortable that we'd gotten to a point in the whole process where we were okay to release the song, and we felt right about everything. And it's we recorded the song nearly 12 months ago, and it's been just sort of waiting for the right time, and we sort of both felt that now was okay, and yeah, you do think about these sort of things, but thankfully, as we were talking about earlier, 99% of people are really embracing the song, and they get the song, and that's fantastic, and I think going back to what you were saying before, there's 97% of people on your page that are females, and I just wonder, out of those 97%, what the blokes or what the guys are, how they're feeling, like what are they going through, and what support have they had, and are they still dealing with their own, grief and stuff. But I mean, I was also lucky because, in a way, because we've got close friends of ours where they've had similar experiences, and I've been lucky enough to sit down with mates, with another guy who's been through it, and we've talked it out. We've talked about his experience and my experience, and how they've also been fortunate enough to now have a little baby boy after so many years of trying, and they've finally got a baby boy, and just to see the joys in their faces is just fantastic, and we've shared how we've felt, and I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have a question from Jackie Lee, and she has asked, do your daughters know about their sister Grace, and if so, how have they coped with her death?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think, well, we've got a little 18-month-old Emmy, so she's still quite naive to what's going on. But our eldest Charlie, she's 6. She's a very, very switched on young girl, and very intelligent, and we feel as though we don't like to keep secrets from her, so we've been very open about the whole thing, and that this all obviously happened when she was still young enough to understand, and she's obviously seen her mum and dad going through the whole, this horrible experience, and the whole grief and everything behind it. But she's been fantastic, and she often sits down and talks to us about it at night. It'll often be at night when we're getting her ready for bed, and we'll be laying, reading her a story or something in bed, and she'll just say, she'll just ask us questions. Oh, I wonder what Grace is doing up there, and I'd really like to see her again one day. And she asks a lot of questions, and we're just really open with her, and we talk to her about it. And she's the older she's getting, the more questions she's having. But I really do feel that she's probably she's probably felt it quite a lot, and we have to be there for her as well. So it's a good question.
Yeah, I think like for us personally, similar stories, I guess. We had our eldest daughter Scarlett when Christian died, and she was too young to understand at the time, but she's had a lot of questions, and we've been very open with her and honest from the beginning, and because we didn't want to get to a certain stage when she was like 6 or 7 where we say, actually, you had a baby brother that died, because we didn't want to hurt her, you know. So she's always grown up knowing that she's had a brother, which is wonderful. And she hasn't actually really asked us anything that we felt that we couldn't answer. Like, she's obviously asked us why, and we've just been honest with her and said, you know, look, we don't know why, and we probably won't ever know why, but we just have to accept it. And sometimes she gets upset, and we just have to allow her that space to be upset about it, and just let her know that, you know, it's nothing that she did that made this happen. It's just one of those things that happens in life. So, but it's difficult sometimes to watch them as they get older and they understand a little bit more, and it kind of sinks in. And but yeah, we've got a young daughter, our youngest daughter, and she doesn't have any idea at the moment. So we're still going through that, you know, explaining as she grows as well, which is it's a very interesting experience to go through when you're not in, you know, really raw grief, and it's more just you kind of feel like a bit of a storyteller, I guess. But let me just get to another question. Sorry, I've been listening, so I should be checking to see what questions are coming in, but I've just been listening. So we have one from Paige Whitehead, and she said, "Has the experience of losing Grace made you a better parent?"
I think absolutely. I think absolutely, and it really crystallized for us, you know, just how much we wanted to have little. We were lucky to have little Emmy as our second. Well, after we lost Grace, and it absolutely made it very, very clear just how much we wanted to have another baby, and how much we wanted to treasure. I mean, any parent that's lost a baby or a child that has other siblings as well, I think it just makes you stop and go far out. You know, I've got to treasure every second I have with these little people, and you know, and it doesn't matter whether it's a baby or a child. I mean, you know, I won't get into specific details, but you know, we've got other friends of ours who are older. You know, they're in their 60s, and they've lost children, you know, in their late 30s, and that's not something you think you're ever going to go through. You know, everybody thinks that it's going to be the children that are going to be saying goodbye to their mum and dad, not the other way around. And it happens to people of all different age brackets, and it's just something that you never think is going to happen to you. So it absolutely makes you a better parent, and I'm very lucky with my job that I get to spend a lot of time with both of my girls. So I'm very blessed.
Yeah, I think we're very similar like that. I think for me, it's definitely made me a better parent. We were very, very young when we had our first daughter, and I think not that I took her for granted, but I think I was so overwhelmed and frightened at just the fact that I was a parent, and so I wasn't really taking the whole experience in for what it was. I was just more worried that I was going to do something wrong. And now that some time has passed and I'm older and I have experienced the loss of Christian, you know, I have this incredible connection with my youngest daughter because I'm just breathing her all in. And, you know, I see so many children that are not treated or loved properly, and it's so infuriating. When, like what you say, you know, so many people that have experienced so much loss and heartache, and they don't have any children to look after themselves. And, you know, I find it very frustrating when I see other children around that are just not being cared for, and you think, my goodness, what has gone wrong in the universe here for things to work out this way? But anyway, I could talk for forever on that topic. So we've got another question here. Okay, from Lorraine Bless. Do you plan on still advocating for pregnancy / baby loss once the hype of your current song has died down? If so, in what ways?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. I mean, it's something that when you lose a child, it's going to be with you forever. It's going to be with you for the rest of your life, and it's obviously a subject matter that I'm extremely passionate about, and I've been approached already by a couple of organisations here in Australia that do support, you know, parents that are going through the loss of a baby or a child, and I am really happy to be working with a couple of organisations in exactly that, and whether that's you know, in whatever way they'd like me to be involved. I mean, if it's me sharing my story, if it's using the song to help other people, if it's you know, being involved in charity walks or whatever. I mean, I'm really passionate about this particular subject matter, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about more than it is. So if I can do anything at all to help raise awareness and support and you know, anything along those lines, absolutely I'm going to be involved in it. So yeah, absolutely, it's something that it's not just going to be happening just because I've got a song out now. It's something that we'll be doing moving forward for quite a while to come.
Yeah, I imagine it will be. I think people put a lot of pressure on people like yourself who have, you know, I guess as a public figure, they look to public figures to, you know, not do the work for them, but they look to people to be a voice. And right now, you are a voice for this community because, you know, you've done something amazing that is going to be accessible to so many people. I mean, you've had so many views on not Facebook, YouTube already on the song. I'm not sure what it's up to right now. I think it was it 17,000? It's probably more than that now, and that's just within a couple of weeks. So yeah, I think even if you weren't to do any more, you've already done enough. You've done this community a huge favour. And I think everyone really appreciates exactly what you have done. So I wanted to ask, what have you got coming up? What's coming up for you next? What are you looking forward to?
Well, on a bright and happy note, I did receive a little bit of exciting news a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it's an interesting story actually. For those that are tuning in here in Australia, there's a concert series that goes around the country called A Day on the Green, and about 9 years ago, I was very, very lucky to open for Bryan Adams, Canadian, who he was my first ever CD I was given as a kid. This is a true story. Was Bryan Adams' Great. And I remember getting it for Christmas one year, and I used to play it all the time. And at the time, I had a drum kit, so I used to go and like listen to his CD, you know, on repeat and try and learn how to play the drums to all his music. And I loved it. And then what do you know? The first big concert I ever do is opening for Bryan Adams, and it was just an amazing day and huge experience. And it was 9 years ago, so I was really green at the time and young, and you know, it was just so awesome. But yeah, the promoter for A Day on the Green he's a really lovely guy, and he's really supportive, and he sort of said, stay in touch with me and keep me in the loop with what you're doing, and we'll try and get you on another one down the track. And it's been 9 years of just touching base with him and staying in touch. And a few years ago, I did get offered another one, but it was the same year that I was on Australian Idol, so I wasn't able to do Australian Idol and A Day on the Green because of the way the contract works with going on this TV show. But he said, look, I've got a Mariah Carey coming out, you know, in a month or so. Do you want me to put you forward for it? And I was like, absolutely. And he said, well, send me some links, send me some of your stuff. I'm not going to promise you anything, but we'll send it over to her people, however it works over there, and she'll have a listen and let us know. And so I didn't want to get my hopes up, and I didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't even tell my wife, and I tell my wife absolutely everything. And but I thought, oh, look, I doubt this is going to come off. And then literally 2 weeks ago, I get this email at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon pop up, and it went, congratulations, you've got the gig.
Wow.
So yeah, so this Sunday I get to open for Mariah Carey with my band, and it's going to be a huge opportunity, and really really excited. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, well, that's just going to be amazing. Okay, yeah, I wish I was in Queensland. um,
Uh,
we've got a few more questions that have come through. Do you have time to answer a couple more questions?
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So hold on a sec. Let me bring them up. Okay, this one comes from Paige Savannah Hughes, and she asks, "Hi Casey, what made you think that it was the right time to share your story with us? And did you talk to your wife about the decision and make it together?"
Yeah, we did. We touched on that a little bit earlier, but it was something that I wanted to be really sure we were right. The timing was right in more that we were ready to release the song in ourselves because I mean, as you know, sharing your own story. I mean, just on the level of everybody's own individual experience, just getting to the point where they feel as though they can talk about it to their friends is one thing, but when you write a song and you're putting it out to however many people that hear it, I think you've got to be ready for that. So it was something that my wife and I really talked about a lot, and you know, we sort of just wanted to be wanted to be ready, but absolutely, and my wife's extremely supportive and very very lucky that you know, that she has been so fantastic. So we hope the song helps other people as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, I think we've got one more question here. It comes from Corey Clark to Taurus. Since we are on the topic of having a baby after loss, how are you and your wife able to handle the stress of the next pregnancy?
Um, well, I think the
One
actual
breath at a time. I said one breath at a time. That's what it was for me and my husband, I think.
look, the actual pregnancy itself, that period of time from when we found out that, you know, Michelle was pregnant again to actually having the baby, far out. I mean, we were both. It's tough, you know. You go through little stages and milestones where you're just getting closer and closer, and you're like, please God, you know, let this go to plan, and let us please have a healthy baby, and specifically that scan that we went for, where we found out the bad news prior. That was a really hard one, and to get past that, and then to be reassured. I mean, you know, the obstetrician we had was fantastic and a huge support, and he was really confident that everything was going to be okay. And you know, it's good to have that support around you as well when you've got your medical staff that are telling you, look, you know, everything's looking good. You know, there's nothing that we can see here that's showing us anything to be concerned about. And you know, we were both we were both really peaking right up until the day that they delivered her, and the doctor said, congratulations, you've got, you know, a beautiful healthy little baby here. And but yeah, it was full on, and I think any parent that's listening and that has been through that experience as well, you know, it's tough. But yeah, to have for us to be lucky enough to have had another healthy baby, we're very very lucky.
Yeah, I think yeah, that was just such a full-on experience and such a frightening 9 months. I remember it so well, and I just remember not being able to picture our daughters being born alive. I just could not picture them breathing, and yet they were. So, you know, when people ask me, how did you get through that, I literally say, like, I don't know. I don't know how we did that, but we just took it one step at a time and just appreciated each day for what it was, and that was another day with our baby. So it's a very difficult process to go through. But anyway, I think I'm just going to check if we've had any more questions come through just before we finish up here. I think that's it for now. So, Casey, whereabouts can people find your beautiful song, Waiting on the Day?
Well, I think for me, like one thing I really want to stress to anybody that's listening with this particular song, it's not about how many people download the track on iTunes and all that sort of stuff, because I could really honestly care less about that side of things. This is one particular song that you know, I'm not concerned about that. It's more that people get to hear it. So I think if you wanna hear the song and you want to see the clip, because I think the clip's the most powerful way to actually get the message behind this song. I would just say jump on YouTube and watch it there, and you know, if you like the song, share it with your friends and family, and once again, thank you to everybody that's left, you know, really lovely comments and shared their stories with me. You know, it's been an overwhelming response, especially in the last week. So, so thank you to everybody, and hopefully, you know, if you're ever in sunny Queensland, or you jump on my website and you see any gigs that are happening, I'd love to have you come up and say hello at a gig and say good day to some people. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, or anything else that you needed to say that you can think of before we close the conversation?
Look, the only other thing I'd say is just touching on, you know, the fact that one thing that the beauty of music is that it lasts forever. So, you know, this song is going to be around for the next generation. It's going to be around infinitely. You know, if that's the way that we're fortunate when we record a song, it's there forever. So I really hope that this song can help other people, not just now, but down the track. And for me, I know it helped me to write the song, and it really helped me get through my own grieving process. So look, you know, if it's helping other people, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I just want to say a huge thank you for giving us all your time and being so open and taking everyone's questions. It's such a brave thing to do and a generous thing to do. So thank you for showing everyone a little bit about yourself and where you've come from and your beautiful girls that you've got at home. And all the best with this coming gig this Sunday, so supporting Mariah. Yeah, we just wish you all the best with that, and just a huge thank you for everything that you've done, and we look forward to seeing what comes from this beautiful song. So thanks so much for your time, Casey, and thanks everyone who joined us and asked a question or just sat and watched. We really appreciate it. So I think you can follow Casey at his Facebook page. I'm pretty sure it's facebook.com/Casey Barnes Official. He's also on Twitter and Instagram, so you can find him there, and make sure you look up his song on YouTube if you haven't heard it already. We'll post the link on both our pages. So thanks for your time, Casey, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon one time.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Bye, everyone.